good morning. Bear with me one moment, my cameras are being dense. So, I'm Natalie, and in a minute I will sort this out because it's being very annoying. He's not a happy bunny today. Let's try this again. Come on. You ever have one of those days where you just know the technology hates you? Today I'm having one of those. There we go. So, welcome. And today we're going to be doing a bit of paper piecing, which I know is a little bit of a change to what I said I was going to do yesterday. But the little house owls have wandered off with my paper pricking mat, so we're having a little bit of a change. As I said, it's been one of those mornings. So, let's hope the iPad can boot itself back up, annoying thing. And we can get on. Come on. Oh, there we go. Do. Morning, Mum. Morning, Joyce. Morning, Deb. Morning, Carol. Morning, Linda. Morning, Tracy. Morning, Thea. And the iPad's going to be a lovely frisbee in a minute. Come on. Just getting there. Slowly. There we go. Hallelujah. So I've had it all this morning. First of all, the Scan and Cut decided it wasn't going to be able to read a USB, which, as you'll see, is kind of important today. So we're going to be using a Foil Quill USB, and the one I'm using is Holiday. Okay. Now you can either buy it in this format, or you can download the files from the We Are Memory Keepers online store. And we're going to be using the Christmas house, which you can see just here. This is probably going to be a little bit tiny, but when you see it on screen, you're going to be able to see it much clearer. So, I hope you're all well and not having gremlins like I'm having this morning. Oh, I think it must just be a day for it, Linda, honestly. I thought yesterday was bad enough, but no, today's like, no. Okay. So, let's go close cam, and hopefully that one will behave. There we go. Yep, I do think that there are just some days where everybody just has a bad day. So, I have my USB, and I always use a USB extension lead. So, number one, it's easier for me to do that rather than reaching around the side of the machine. But it also looks after your machine. So, it's kind of a buffer. So, if something breaks the cable, it's £5-ish to replace the cable rather than a new machine. And that just stays permanently plugged in. Yeah, it's the other way around with me. The computer is kind of fine. I won't say fine, but it's kind of fine. But the iPad, oh, sheesh, the iPad. It needs a trip to Apple. So I'm going to go to Retrieve Data USB. SVG because we want to draw. And we're going to go down to Christmas. Yes, that dreaded C word. And I want to go down to the Christmas house. So we're going to tap on that, and it's going to give us a little preview. Now it is a little preview because they always seem to be small and tiny in the middle of the screen rather than going, look at me. So I'm going to go OK, and it's going to pop it onto the map. So you can see at the moment it's about 2 by 2 inches, and depending on what card size you want, that may be ideal, but I'm going to take it up a little bit bigger. So if we go into Edit, Multi-Select, select all, OK, object edit, group. Now we can do our resize. Now remember, when we do our resize, we want to pull it away from that edge. And we're going to take that up. So you want it big enough that you can see your detail really. So nearly 4 inches tall by about 3 inches wide, that's probably ideal really. So we can pop that up there. Okay. Now at this point, as we want to do paper piecing, you're going to want to draw it more than once. So one solution is that you just literally go paper, through, on, load the mat, draw, change paper, draw again, change paper, draw again. Rather than doing that, we can actually load up our mat all in one go. So if we use duplicate, let's go up to 4. So that's going to give us 4 copies. And we can put one there. We can put one down to this corner here. And one over here. So if you're using a 6x6 pad, this is nice and easy because you can just literally load it up onto your mat as 6x6s. If you're using an 8x8 pad like me, you're going to want to do a little bit of trimming. So what I would say at this point is, as we have that in our machine, we can now take off our USB. Now the reason I say to do that is because when the USB is attached, it's constantly accessing that USB, and you can find it starts to get a little warm, to say the least. So these things are an investment and we want to look after them. Now let's choose some papers. So you want to go for a paper that isn't too busy. Just flick on some multi-stream just in case there's any on YouTube. So things that are just 2 colour are ideal. You could go 3 colours at a push, but I think that's going to be too contrasty. You want something that's kind of subtle. And let's find... I'll go for that one too. And let's go for that one for some highlights. So it's better at this stage to pull out more than you need, and then you can always adapt that later. And multi-stream chat doesn't seem to want to work today. Carol, I just tried cutting some card which slipped all over the place. So I've rinsed the mat under the water, waiting for it to dry and see if it makes any difference. Yep, that should work. It generally takes a couple of hours to dry if you do it that way, but yeah, you'll get there. So in addition to that, I'm going to add a plain colour piece of card. So I was going to go for lemon, but I'm not sure that's going to work. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. Let's go. Oh, we've got a nice dark red actually. Now, that one might be interesting because I think I'm going to have to draw that one in white. So, when we're drawing these shapes, one thing you want to consider is if you are going to have to change pen colour at any point for the card that you've chosen. So, I've gone with a black pen at the moment, but I may have to change my mind for a couple of these. That's not to say that you can't have them all on the mat at once though. So, want to cut our papers down to 6x6 if they aren't 6x6 already. I'm just going to use my trimmer to do that. Keep the offcuts, because they can be useful to add further decoration. So there's one. Two. Around and not what's left on that one. Okay, so there's a corner missing off that one, but it won't really make any difference for what we want to do. Now we need our mat. I'm just going to use an oil on it. So just because I used this the other day for cleaning up some metal leaf, I'm going to take a couple of sheets off so that I don't accidentally transfer that to my cutting mat, because that would not be good. You won't believe how much dust these pick up just by having one day out in the open. Let's give it a little clean and it'll be as good as new. So we're going to go put our first 6x6 in the top corner, then our next one. Now I am using the Super Duo mat, so that does mean there's going to be a bit blank space at the bottom. It's okay, it won't interfere with anything. And we can put our red piece in there. So then we have our mat good to go. We can load that into our machine. Now, because we know that our sizes are accurate, and because we know they're going edge to edge, we don't have to worry about doing a full background scan if you don't want to. But what I will do is the ones that I think are a bit close to the edge, I'll just pull those down and in a little bit. Now, some of these pieces we may end up cutting out by hand, but we'll see how we go. So I'm going to go OK, OK, and it would help if you could see. There we go. So now we're going to go to Please Select and Draw. And you're going to see those lines turn blue. So when we import SVGs into our machine, it automatically puts all lines as cut and draw lines, rather than being one or the other when we're sending from Canvas offline. So, pen holders. Now, I noticed in the poll that we put up that there were some questions about what is the 3D Fun Prints pen holder. So, I thought today I would use the Universal. So, this is it. This is our limited edition version. and basically it's made of 3 parts. So we have a little screw cap that's going to tighten these little sections here, and that's what grips your pen. You have a little guide on this end that detaches, and that's what tells you where your pen is going to be touching your paper. Now, I'm going to use Inkjoy gel today. So basically, what you want to feel is when you're putting this in, if you move your little U-shaped piece like that, you should feel that it's grating. So if I hold that by the mic, hopefully you can hear that. So as long as you can hear that little noise, you can tighten up that screw cap to the point where it grips the pen. So don't over tighten, but just so that it grips the pen, and check again that it's still doing that grating sound. Then hopefully when you move to your machine, you'll find that you won't have any issues. Now there's 2 lines on the back of these that go to the back of your machine. If you have the newer versions, there's a little rectangle as well. Okay. So with our pen in place, we can now go, yep, I'm ready to draw. Your settings. At the moment I have it set up for the Foil Quill because that's what I was doing the other day. But if we go in here, now this is very much going to depend on the type of pen that you put in. So something like this gel pen I know doesn't need too much pressure to get it to draw. And draw speed, we can actually put our speed up a little. Now as your pens get older, slower is better, because then you're giving it time to draw out that ink. So let's give that a go, and we'll go OK. And let's type to start. Okay, for this holder, it's going to come up saying attach appropriate holder. Just go OK and start again, and it'll carry on. Now you want to keep an eye on this in case you think that it's not going to be strong enough for you to actually see it. So I'm going to stop that, because you need it to be strong enough that at least you can see it even if the machine can't. So let's pop a white pen in. So I'm going to go for the Arteza 1mm. And if you have a little scrap piece of paper, just give it a little test, so make sure the ink is flowing. This is especially important with white gel pens. Load it in, tighten it up. In we go. Try again. So again, please select draw. The new mat should be very, very soon, Deb. So hopefully, if you're really struggling with a mat that is just not cooperating, that's the word I'm looking for, then do by all means just do a squiggly zig covering. So I don't literally go like that across it, I just basically help it out by doing like a little squiggle so it has a bit more tack. I tend to find if you go across like that, it actually makes it too sticky. It is not liking me today. I'm going to take it a bit slower. And a bit more pressure. And let's start. Okay, start. Nope, he's just not having it. There you go now. A little bit better. Nope, not happy with it. Told you, it's one of those days. Why are you misbehaving, Mr. Penn? Okay, change of plan. I'll do it on that paper. Just because it wants to be annoying. And I can use that for something else later anyway. So I'm going to pull out some different coloured card just for speed. And I'm going to go for a white version. Let's go for a sort of warm grey. And there's elements of that that are more dark green. Let's see if I've got something I can use. Let's go for that one. Okay. So I can stick that one on there. I'll just trim down these other two quick. Yeah, I can never have much luck with the pin flat stencil glue, to be honest. I do prefer the zig, but I think everybody has different preferences. Some people really don't like the zig. Use the Tombow Multi instead of the zig. That's the white one rather than the clear one, isn't it? Some people do. Personally, I've not tried it. You can use a quickie glue pen if you're desperate. Or things like leafing glue, bizarrely, will probably do it because it dries tacky, which is what you're looking for. But whether you'll find it be a bit too tacky for what you want to use it for. So do a patch test is the best thing I can advise. We keep old mats as well for when we want to test things. And also we tend to adapt them as well. So I have one that has double-sided adhesive which I've applied to it, which is for when we need that ultra high tack. So if we apply double-sided adhesive to the back of our card, for instance, we can use that mat to hold on to it. The other use I tend to use my cutting mats for is actually to go on my stamp platform. So I'll actually cut out the sticky section and trim that down to size my stamp platform. Right. Take 3001, or what feels like it, and let's see how we go. That's a bit naughty, Sandra. We are waiting for a replacement plate for your order, Sandra, so rather than getting sent out separately. Is this still misbehaving? It is, isn't it? What is it today? It's definitely having an off day. I wish I could say, oh, it's the update's fault, but I can't. So I'm going to swap to an Ink Joy liquid, because if this doesn't work, then goodness knows what will. Okay. At least you can see that if it goes wrong for me, it's not just you if it goes wrong. Yeah, we all have our off days. That's better. So let's see if I can change that view for you slightly. There we go. Just realised when your birthday is, Sandra. It's the same day as Lucy's. And don't worry, you didn't miss much at the beginning because it's having a real off day today. And the camera's played up and everything, so. Then the iPad decided it was going to shut down just as I was going live because it's useful like that. So I've been watching Adobe Max, which is currently on, which is quite cool to watch and quite inspirational. So you may think, oh, it sounds like you're just going to be watching loads of tutorials on, you know, Illustrator, Photoshop, etc. But they actually get a lot of creative people, not just graphic designers, but also filmmakers, directors, cameramen, actually talking about their work. So for instance, this morning I was watching a piece on the graphic designers that worked on Harry Potter, which is really cool. Yeah, it's very quiet, and apart from the house elves that seem to have moved everything while I wasn't looking. So, can't find a thing. But apparently he's going to be later home today, so... Which is a little bit of a... So I've done the members project for this month, so that will be going up either tomorrow or Friday, and that's going to be a really fun one. I won't ruin the surprise, but I will be doing a live stream for members so that you can see how to put it together rather than doing instructions this month. Just because there's so much you can do with it, it's going to be easier to actually see it on the stream. Let me just see if multi-stream chat has woken up yet. Oh. What are you doing? It's Unreal off day. My STX wants to do an update for 1.51. Are there any issues with the update, please? Okay. So, whether it's 1.51 or 1.54 that you're upgrading from, I would still hold off. Just because mine's been playing up to date and I'm just a little bit... could it still be a few teething issues? So what I will see, if I do some drawing off stream, I will try and see if I can fix that, or whether it is just having a bad day. But the new update is 1.62. It enables things like the rotary blade, which 1.61 brought in, but then for some reason with the UK machines it caused a bit of a glitch. Just for the UK apparently, which is very bizarre. So people were finding it was doing things like doing double depth tests, and I was struggling with half cut being all over the shop, so I could be cutting the same material, same design, and the one time round and -5 would be enough and perfect. Then the next time round it would go all the way through, and then you'd do it again and you'd find that you hadn't even got a line on your vinyl. It was very, very weird. Yeah, if it's working fine and you haven't invested in the rotary blade yet, then you can just stay as you are. Have the issues been sorted in the new upgrade? It seems a little bit more stable, but I wouldn't say it would be perfect yet. I still feel like I'm having to relearn a different machine, which isn't good. Sally, you had the same issue as me with half cut. So, yep, if you're still struggling with that, then yes, do the update, which is why I ended up doing the update, because they didn't put up the file to go back to 1.54, which if they had, I would have done it, to be honest, because I can't see me having rotary blade in the near future, because it is an investment. there are other things I'd rather do first. I did try it on when we did the resin stream, but I did find it didn't cut it quite enough. So that's one of those things where you can use cut mat to adjust it. So with the pen holder you're using, I tried to look for one on Amazon, but I had no luck. How much are they? Australian dollars with shipping to Oz. Okay, so if you want to get this pen holder outside of the UK at the moment, we did put them up on our sum up shop with about £15 delivery, just to cover our costs to get it over to you. So do have a look on there. I will post up a link again, but the links went up at the weekend on the main group, which is Scanning, Cut and Paper Craft Courses, Classes and Workshops by Planner Craft. I don't think I would see the need to use the rotary blades, so I'll leave it all alone for now. Okay, so rotary blades, what do you use them for? You can use them for fabric, that's the really obvious one. Felt is going to be another really obvious one that will work better with a rotary blade than a knife blade. Foam to a certain extent as well will prefer a rotary blade. But also things like tissue paper, rice paper, your thinner, delicate items, or those that have almost loose fibres to them. So things like your mulberry papers, through to cotton papers that are thicker. Sometimes you'll find that a rotary blade will actually cut that nicer, because instead of having that drag pressure, you're actually getting that downwards cut pressure. And don't worry, Rachel, you didn't miss much. The machine is having a real off day on me today. Or is that just me? So I'm hoping today I can show you a bit of a different way of working with direct cut. And we'll see how we go. I don't think we've got very many viewers on YouTube today. Not seeing any comments from YouTube. When I thought mulberry paper with being so fibrous, have you used it as wearing, sticking and tearing? So remember how I was saying about keeping old mats? That's where you can use a mat that has lost its tack. So if you're finding it's not holding card, it would probably still hold paper. In particular mulberry paper, because that really won't take much tack. And then just keep it just for that. I do tend to write on the back of my mats as to what stage they're at, whether they are for using high tack, whether I've adapted one for embossing, which I've done before now. Trying to think of all the different mats I've got loads. I've got a non-adhesive one, which is useful for when you want to do some drawing or foiling. So yeah, with anything that you're worried about sticking and tearing, keep an older mat, and I wouldn't even put a cover back on it so that you actually let it go so that it's low tack. Yep, nothing wrong with dating it when you've restuck it. As long as you stay away from the dots or the squares, depending on whether you're on a CM or a DX. That's absolutely fine. So when I'm working like this, what I'm looking at is which element I'm actually going to keep as like the base layer. So I'm going to probably keep the grey as my base layer and then work on top of that. Then we can use the other colours to actually decorate on top. So let's switch back to close cam. We're going to go OK. And we can take our pen out. So, with our pen holder, just unscrew the cap and then slide it out. So you don't have to take that cap off all the way to get your pen out. You just want to undo it enough that it slides out nice and easily. Okay. So you may think at this point, right, okay, this is really easy now. All I've got to do is send that to draw. To cut, but the trouble is then it's going to cut on those same lines, which means that if you have open line work like we do in this file, all you're going to do is just get that line cut through your piece rather than actually having a piece that's cut out. So I am looking at this and I'm thinking, let's go home. Okay. Because with our grey section I can just cut that out by hand. With our green section I only really want the bits that are going to be green, so these little reef sections here and our Christmas tree. Then with the white we want to pull out all our detailing, so you're going to want to have the tops of your roof. And let's see if I can pull that up a bit so you can see that better. There we go. Oh, almost a bit too far. Let's just loosen it off. There we go. There we go. So, lift that up. So, these sections of the roof here, window ledges, same down here, the little window ledges and the frame of the door. Because I'm thinking the door would be really funky done in red. And then on our red we can do things like our door here. We could pull out these bows if you're really lucky, and we'll see how that goes. But we also want to do our big roof section here. So we're going to go to scan, direct cut, because we want to cut directly out of the card that's on the mat. We're going to try and use the machine. Now, colour mode. Because we have a combination of contrasts, I'm going to use colour. Now, if you're working with a load of light coloured papers and a black pen, then you can use black and white and that's absolutely fine. But I think colour's going to give me the better option for what I'm working with. Now, scanner lever. This can be an interesting one. If you're working with a patterned paper, sometimes you can find that leaving your scanner set in position 2 can actually give you a better scan. So it's one of those really bizarre ones where you go, well, that's the opposite of what you would necessarily think is true, because in essence what you're doing is you're actually blurring that scan because you moved that scan bar away from your surface. So just bear that in mind. I'm going to lower it down for this one, just so hopefully it can see those low contrast areas a bit clearer. And we can go start. Now with the Super Geo mat, it's still only going to scan 12 by 12, so it will stop and it will come back through. Okay, and it's going to tell you to frame the image, so I'm going to go like that for now and go OK. And let's see what it can pick up. Really need to tap dance or something. Yep, you can override it and just carry on with it still in position 2. So you don't have to move it every time it prompts you. Okay, so it can't really see very much on the green, but we can see that it's going to cut round the outside of the red, which is oddly enough probably the line that you want to use over on the grey panel, so that you could go from that. Or you can reverse your thinking and put the red at the bottom. So it kind of, you can use it to kind of change your thinking if you want to. Now the little white sections worked really well, so we can go OK, and we can go to edit. So if at this point you're like, okay, that's more or less worked how I want it to work, but there are certain elements that haven't, you can actually delete out those elements that aren't working for you. So for instance, this house over here, if I look at what is actually on the mat, I can see that I could cut that out and I can just do a straight trimmer line across the roof. But I actually want to chop that off. So to my mind that's actually fine, because it's not as if I'm going to use those other sections in that kind of way, but it has missed out the door. So what I can do is I can take to cut that line now, and I can go back and do the door after, so don't worry about that. In the white section, it's got that outside of my door frame. Okay, that's fine. But it's also trying to go around the outside, and it's got a little bit of a weird one in here where it hasn't quite got that shape, I don't think. But we'll see how it goes. And again, it's going up round the roof, but we can do that and still go back in. So long as we don't move anything on the mat or try and lift anything off the mat, you can do those little bits. Now what you do want to check is if there are little bits like that where it's picked up some dust off your work, for instance, then do delete those. And same with the join here between these two. Make sure you delete that out, else you'll be cutting through your mat. So let's pop that in. And I'm going to go for my vinyl blade just because we've got those little intricate bits and I want to make sure that it does actually cut those out properly. I'm going to go OK. OK. And I think I'm happy with that. So let's go cut. and we can tell it to do that first bit. Okay. So now we're going to go OK. We're going to go back home. Scan, direct cut. I'm going to use the machine again. We're still going to use those same settings. Okay, now we can start to use our frame to actually try and highlight some of these elements. So first of all, let's see if we can get this house to cut out as one whole. So I'll go OK and let it go through its process. Okay, that's given us our outside of our house, so we can say OK. OK. If you want to do an offset, you can do, but for something like this, oh, should I shan't? Oh, go on. I'll put a little bit of one on. So I'm just going to put a tiny fraction, and we can go OK, and we'll go to cut. Okay. So again, we'll go back and let's move over to this side. Now, because the bits that we want are on the inside of our shape, if we move that frame inwards, it's going to start to ignore the outside of that house. And we'll go OK. So we can start to see that we're actually starting to play with that a little bit, in that now, okay, it's moved in a little bit more, but we still need it to actually get a little bit more detailed. So if we go back, we can take it right down and go OK. Let's see if we can get that tree. Okay, we have the tree, and even though it cuts up the side of that tree a little bit, that's okay. We're going to go OK, and we're going to go to cut and start. Okay, so there's our tree cut out. So, looking at time, we're nearly up for our hour. So what I'm going to carry on doing is I'm going to work through doing all those little pieces using that exact same technique. So you're going to frame what you want to cut out, What I will do is I will quickly answer any questions that you have that aren't relating to this project, if you have something in the meantime. Now, do you think you could cut polymer clay on the SDX? I wouldn't say necessarily polymer clay, but if you had paper clay that you've rolled out into sheets and allowed to dry, that would cut, particularly with the rotary blade. Polymer clay is a bit more of a tricky one, so I think you will probably find that it would drag a little with a knife blade, and also then you're looking at a different kind of mat, so you almost would need like a non-adhesive mat for something like polymer clay. And you also risk damaging your machine in the sense that you've got to make sure that that clay that you're putting through is totally level. So you would have to go really, really careful about that. But what I will do is, off stream, I will carry on putting this together, and I will put the photo up same as I did yesterday, so that you can see it all built up. And I would love to see what you are going to do with this kind of technique. So please, please, please start sharing your work on the group. You can pop up your album and then load your images into that, so that it's really easy for us to find, and everybody can then go through and comment and like. So the group is private, so you don't have to think, oh no, I'm showing my work all in public. No, it is private, and the only people that we let in are those that we can guarantee are crafters. So when we let you in, we do a bit of digging to make sure that you're legit, because we don't want people that put up dog videos and all the other random bits that you sometimes get that, yeah. So have a good afternoon. I have some samples to do, but I'm really looking forward to sharing those with you this weekend, because there are going to be loads. Okay, so I'll try and share those out over from this weekend through to next week, so that you don't get them all at once. So take care, and I will say bye bye for now. Bye.